G'day, everyone. Welcome to another Toon Under podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's biggest and best podcast dedicated to all things time wasting. Today, we're going to talk about the massive result this morning, our time. Before we get into it, we'll do a little bit of housekeeping. We'd love you to like and comment, subscribe on our videos on our channel. Really helped us out. We've got a little bit of a recruitment drive at the moment, I guess you want to call it. We're trying to pump up and get as many subs as we can before the season's finished. So if you love what we do, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your wives and your girlfriends. That might be the same thing, whatever they are. Tell them, jump on and subscribe. It helps us out. We're all happy, and we'll get straight into it. Bobby, how are you, mate?
Flying today. I've given it to about 100 Manx that live in Australia, and it's been a glorious day for us when we've copped it for years from these pricks and then in the League Cup. So we got it back today. So it's been tremendous. And the sun was shining here in the great state of Victoria. So everything was good.
100%, mate. Like we always say, there's only two states to be in, Victoria and pissed. And the other man in Victoria, Dimi, how are you, mate? How was your day?
Very good, mate. It wasn't the best weekend before this game this morning, but
it was a dog shit weekend for all of us. Let's be honest.
Yeah, all of our teams had a shit house weekend, but this morning was sensational. And to wake up Monday morning early before work, if you lose that game, it really just ruins your week. So to get a win and to beat those pricks, it was a fantastic result.
And if you've just crawled out from under a rock or you're watching some Logan Paul videos on YouTube and we've popped up in your algorithm, the pricks that we are talking about are Manchester United. A comfortable 2-0 battering, I guess that's probably a fair way to describe it. We're not being a hyperbole or anything like that. It was a smashing, and 2-0 flattered them, I thought. It could easily have been 6 or 7, and we do have a couple of resident psychos on the podcast who love to trawl through opposition forums and podcasts and things like that. And there was a few of them actually saying that they played better against Liverpool and lost 7-0 than what they did today. So 2-0 is definitely 2-0 is definitely flattering for them. I think I've sort of been dwelling on this a bit today. It's been a day. Like, let's be honest, like you can't get enough of days like today. The content's great. You're just refreshing Twitter all the time for more shit, and then someone else posts something out and you're like, oh, I'm going to watch this one. I'll save this for later. And it's just that good. Dimi, I'll start with you, mate. What does it mean to beat Manchester United in the way that we did?
I think that's the key point, the way that we did. It wasn't a fluky 1-0 win where Dubravka back in the day was man of the match on his debut, and we sort of scrapped our way to a 1-0 victory. We absolutely annihilated them, and you're right, 2-0 flattered them. It should have been 5 or 6, and we probably, if Man United were serious, they probably wouldn't have argued if it was 3 or 4-0 at half time. To be honest, it was absolutely dominant in the first half. In the first half, typical for us, we can't score early in games these days, but should have been up 2 or 3 at halftime and should have been 5 or 6 at the end. So it was an unbelievable result, and just the way we performed against a so-called top 4 challenger, can't complain.
Yeah, actually, the sort of how you described it there it sort of reminded me a bit of my late teens, early 20s years, where just going out to a pub or a nightclub, no chance I could score early. Like, I had to wait right to the end to seal the deal. So it did bring up some painful memories about that. Bobby, does the win mean more because of them and who we beat, or does it mean more because of where they are on the table and how that affects us in the context of the season, do you think?
Yeah, it's a good question, actually. I think
like, would you have the same feeling if that was Chelsea in that position and we'd just beaten them and overtaken them in third with 11 games or so to go, or because it's Man United and the sort of history, especially the last, 6 weeks with them?
Yeah, I think I think it's a little bit different when it's Manchester United, especially for us boys here in Australia. Some who listen to this podcast probably don't understand how big Manchester United is in Australia. Them and Liverpool pretty much share 40% of the 40% each of the total EPL fans. So for years and years, we've copped it. As I said, I gave it to about 100 United and it was sweet. So I think, yeah, that played into it a little bit, but also because now we're at their level, we're challenging for top four and we've surpassed them on the table now. It meant a little bit more. And then going back to the League Cup, having that in the memory bank as well. So all up, yeah, it was a very special day and one that we, can put in the memory back for a long time. It was a bit like the 5-0 back in 96 or whenever it was. That still stuck with us for a long time. But I think this one will stick for a while too because, as you said, it should have been an absolute 5 or 6-0 cakewalk tonight.
Yeah, 100%. Well, now that we can sort of take that deep breath now and just get it out there, we'll have a look at the lineups here. We'll start off with the red team. Dimi, I'll go through it. De Gea, Martinez, Fernandez, Rashford, Sabitzer, Varane, Dalot, Anthony Shaw, Wout Weghorst, and the bloke who wishes he was going to play for us next year, but I don't think he's going to, Scott McTominay. Dimi, what were your thoughts when you seen their lineup? Were you surprised that Marcus Rashford miraculously recovered to be fit for this game, like the League Cup final? What anything tickle your fancy with that?
The midfield tickled my fancy, to be honest. I think whenever Casemiro doesn't play, you fancy yourself against that midfield. There's a lot of what we call down here downhill skiers and not really players up for the fight, particularly that man in the photo there, the so-called captain of Manchester United. He's too busy complaining half the game, but I really thought the midfield we could get a hold of them and sort of bully them, and it ended up being that way. We didn't give them any time on the ball, and that ended up being the case. But yeah, the Casemiro loss is obviously huge for them, but for us to sort of enforce ourselves onto them, it was a massive opportunity. And yeah, obviously Rashford was always going to play. That was just another crock of shit, just like before the final.
Yeah, yeah, knocking me down with a feather that he was fit and playing. Bobby, what about you, mate? Anything you sort of tickled your fancy when you seen that team?
Exactly like Demi. I thought our midfield could get on top. Casemiro is a massive player for them. He's sort of the heartbeat of that squad and defensively keeps him in check a little bit. But yeah, I mean, we see now, I think I don't want to hear about McTominay and coming to us ever again. I've been against it from the start, and I think we all showed that he's just not at the level for us now. I think we're surpassing him as coming in, and they'll want too much money. So I think we dominated them in the midfield, and there wasn't, other than Rashford, I don't think there was anything to be worried about really when I saw the lineup.
Yeah, for sure. We'll move on to Eddie Howe's time-wasting mags. We'll start off with Nick Pope was in goal, Trippier, Sharp, Botman, Byrne, Bruno, Longstaff, Willock, Murphy, ASM, and Isak. Now, I think most of us, not just us, I think most fans expected ASM to not start the game after he was hooked at halftime at Forest due to what we probably thought was a poor performance, but since learned, especially in the post-match and things like that he was sort of carrying a niggle, and that's probably why his performance was what it was. He just couldn't go like he normally does. But, Dimi, I'll start with you, mate. Were you surprised that Big Joe didn't start?
Just to some extent, yes. I mean, Eddie doesn't seem to change winning teams. Very rarely he changes a winning team unless it's a suspension or an injury. So I think from that perspective, I wasn't surprised. But obviously the player that Joe Linton is and the sort of the history he has against Manchester United, especially at St James's Park, that was sort of his coming out party for the English Premier League to see what a player he was becoming. And so that from that perspective, I was surprised. But like I said, Eddie doesn't really change winning teams, so you sort of have to go with the same 11 and see how they go.
Yeah. What about you, Bobby? Were you surprised that the Brazilian bulldozer didn't feature in the starting 11 coming back from suspension?
Yeah, I think I just sort of thought he'd just slot back in, but as Dimi says, we should know Eddie Howe by now. He sort of sticks to his laurels and keeps a winning formula when it wins. So I think we were all a bit down on Saint-Maximin after the last game. I remember some comments from a few of our co-podcasters saying
Jack.
they never wanted to see him play again. So so that was probably the biggest surprise in the end. But well, if we had any doubts, we sort of got showed that he was back to his best in this game.
Yeah, just before we move on to the game, wouldn't mind touching on him because we love to kick him when he's down, and if he's been shit, everyone loves sinking the boots in and stuff like that. But I don't know about you guys. I get the feeling that he really gets himself going for these big games against the big teams. Like he sort of he just can't get himself going against Nottingham Forest on a Friday night away. It's not his go. Like he wants to play his best against the big teams and things like that. Do you get that vibe, Jimmy?
Yeah, absolutely. His history and his performances for us have suggested that it's generally against the bigger clubs. I mean, he had a great performance a couple of seasons ago against Manchester United. Obviously, his performance this year against Manchester City was out of this world.
Brilliant.
He does seem to need the big occasion, and obviously that's the Maverick, that's ASM. But he did his job today, and I think we can't. Yeah, you're right. We do kick him a lot when he doesn't perform, but I think we need to give him his flowers today. I think he definitely put a shift in. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Bobby, do you reckon it's a big team thing because it's a big team, or do you think it's because when a big team or such as say a top 6 club, we play against them, that they actually come and attack us and have a go? So therefore, the actual style of game suits him more rather than a team who sort of puts the dreaded low block on us.
Yeah. I was going to say that. I think it's because for all of our players, I think we like the teams to come at us because it creates more space, and ASM loves his space and the ability to run with the ball into that space and take on a defender. I think when, like the game against Nottingham Forest, when they do that low block and give him no space and he's got to sort of pass the ball, that's not his natural go. So he gets a bit lost and where to run, where to receive the ball. It sort of makes him, obsolete, I suppose, in the system. But when a big team comes and they give him that space, well, he'll take advantage of it. But I think there's an element of that, and there's an element of a shop window type thing as well. I want to play against a big club and show that I'm that ego in him. I want to show that I'm good enough and big enough to play at these sort of clubs. So it is what it is. I think ASM was always a watch this space with Eddie Howe and his system. Unfortunately, the better we get for ASM, the more teams are going to play the low block. So his game style probably goes out the window a little bit. So, but yeah, like Timmy, you got to give him credit.
Yeah, definitely. Before we go any further, I should have mentioned this off the top, but I've just sort of made my screen to the full screen. And Bobby, that sweater you're wearing is incredible. Like that is a thing of beauty. So, for those who aren't, who are sort of following us via audio, get yourself onto YouTube and have a look at this sweater because it is absolutely glorious. Built for Ballarat winters, and I'm not sure if they make them in mediums, but if you could let me know off air where to get one, I'll definitely be looking to invest in one of them for a Geelong winter as well.
Definitely not a medium; it's an extra large. But but this is one of my favorite jumpers, and I was out at dinner and I just got in time for the podcast, so definitely built for Ballarat, this jumper.
I'll try to describe it for our audio listeners, but I just encourage you to get onto the jump onto the YouTube channel, Toon Under Podcast on all your socials, by the way, and just have a look at this glorious piece of knitweb. Anyway, we move on to the game. I just remiss of me not to mention beautiful fashion when I see it. So the first half, I won't go into a blow-by-blow description of what happened because there was a fair bit that actually went on in the first half, and I have promised Dimi that we won't keep this till over 4 hours, so we won't go through everything that happened. But how did you feel at halftime, Dimi? Obviously, like we spoke about, we did control the game and batter the game, but the score sheets were still unstained at halftime. So how are you feeling?
A little bit concerned, to be honest. It was a dominant display. I mean, the Willock chances, he had 2 glorious chances. Longstaff had a shot just went wide. He also had another decent chance where he couldn't get a shot away. Isaac's header was wonderfully saved by De Gea. It was one of those games you just felt if we don't score here, it's going to be one of those RC goals. They're going to go forward once. Rashford's going to crack a shot. It's going to hit Botman's bum. It's going to go in again. And it's just going to be one of those annoying games where you dominate and the other team takes one chance. So I was, to be honest, a bit concerned, especially playing against a so-called bigger club, Manchester United. They're going to have their moment. You'd think they didn't have many moments. It ended up being in the whole match, but you thought they could create 1 or 2 chances. And sort of the way football goes, if you don't take your chances, more than likely the other team's going to get 1 or 2, and if they take it, that just takes the air out of your balloon. So it was worrying, and on one hand, but obviously on the other hand, it was a dominant display. And if we walked in at 2 or 3-0 at halftime, you wouldn't have said we didn't deserve it.
No, absolutely not. No complaints. Bobby, how was the air in your balloon at halftime?
Deflating.
Yeah.
Deflating rapidly. To be honest, because a bit like Dimi, I was very happy with the performance. Like, I thought we haven't battered a team like that since the Arsenal game, I don't think, or, going back to last season at the end where we beat them 2-0. But I was very nervous because our finishing has always been our Achilles heel. As Dimi and Jack, the XG wankers, point out, that the expected goals is always really high, but we don't seem to score those goals, and that to me is why that XG stat, whilst I don't mind it, it really doesn't mean anything, because if you can't put the ball in between, at the back of the net, it's all for nothing anyway. And you just saw that in the first half. We absolutely and utterly dominated and should have been 2-3 up at that stage, but we weren't. So that leaves you open and vulnerable. And I was pacing around the man cave at halftime thinking we might be in a bit of trouble here.
Yeah, I was the same for what it's worth. I was concerned that, we'd sort of huffed and puffed and we'd thrown our best shot and had nothing to show for it. And given the team that they are with the quality players that they have, except for probably Weghorst, but the rest of that sort of front attacking players, they're very dangerous. And as much as shit as we hang on Bruno Fernandes, he's still a top quality player and a world class player, even if he is a piece of shit bloke on the field. But so I was concerned. So half time there was a bit of sick gut creeping in. Like, I'd hate to be playing this way and feel really good, but then at the same time have that sinking feeling that I think it's just a Newcastle feeling, isn't it? Like, you just have that sinking feeling that something's going to go wrong if nothing's as good as what it seems. But we started after half time and things were as good as they say. And we continued. We pretty much picked up where we left off in the first half. And then I think, was it about the 64th minute or 65th minute? It was a good sort of little snapshot into us as a team this season. I thought it had everything that we sort of brought for the first or the rest of the year. I mean, it all started with, for me, it all started with Botman. Botman put that challenge on Martial, I think it was, and he was probably, I think he looked like in the shot nearly our sort of deepest defender, and he was still 15 yards inside our own half, in our attacking half. Like, we were being ultra aggressive, both with and without the ball. And then he gets that foot in, and then Bruno sort of shapes his body, protects the ball moves, and then there's a bit of pinball. Isak's 4 touches when he gets the ball. Like, there's just something else. And that ball he played to Bruno's ability to actually look up and see Murphy and ASM free at the back post as well. And I think the commentator did mention, well, our commentator in Australia mentioned, I'm not sure what the who the English commentators were, but he did mention that he thought he overhit it and it was a poor cross. But I think it was actually the perfect cross because he actually looped it up over to see them two players, and then ASM with the awareness to knock it back towards goal with a great head. Obviously, his heading's not his strong suit, I think it's fair to say. And then Willock to knock that ball in. But Bobby, I know you were pretty passionate about the goal, so I'll let you take over and you can give us your little ejaculation synopsis about what had happened.
You don't want to hear about my ejaculation synopsis, to be honest. But
we'll keep the truth out of this.
Oh, shit. There was a lot to dissect in that bit of play in that 30 seconds or how long it took. Murphy as well, to cut back inside, the ball gets bobbled around. And as you said, Isaac, he's world class. He's just his footwork and his ability to stay on his feet and get around people in tight spaces opened it up a little bit. And then I just want to say that, we've talked about ASM, but that for me was his changing of his mindset to be that team first. I think in the past he would have tried to fly kick it into the goals, being him, but to realise that, he had two players that are sort of inside there to hit it across the goal. It was quality, and Willock again to be in a position to score from the midfield. He's second to none in that, to be honest. Like, I'd name me another midfielder, young English midfielder, who keeps getting himself into scoring positions like Willock does. There isn't one. So a lot of heroes in that, Isaac's ball, Bruno's cross, everything, mate. Like, that is, as you said, it sums up Eddie Howe's Newcastle United.
Yeah, I think this is not being, I don't think it is anyway, not being hyperbolic or anything like that. But if Willock can be more regular with converting the chances that he gets, he'd be a starting midfielder for England. Not a problem in the world.
What's his XG, Dibby?
He'd be bloody high, I'll tell you what.
It'll have to be bloody high.
Far out, mate. He'd probably be on double figures if he's converting his XG.
Dimi, I want you to try and sum up what it's like for us, people in Australia. I'll throw New Zealand into this, anyone else kind of in the Southern Hemisphere. How hard is it to celebrate a goal at 2:30 in the morning against Manchester United? Can you try to explain to our listeners and our viewers in the Northern Hemisphere how hard that actually is?
It's virtually impossible, to be fair. Yeah. It's you do the action of celebrations, but you try to mime it. So you're like, that in itself makes a noise. Yeah. And I did get told off by the missus when the game finished and I got back into bed and she goes, "I heard you." I said, "What do you mean? I didn't make any noise." But obviously that trying not to make a noise still makes noise. It is very, but for that sort of moment, I mean, you can't just, it's not the sort of goal where you sit back and say, "Oh, nice goal." Yep.
Yeah.
Clap it. Yeah. You can't. You just let your emotion and the feeling just takes over. And yeah, if we were in the stadium, if we were watching it at a normal hour, yeah, we'd be going absolutely blind. So it is very tricky, but you make it work. You get used to it, mate.
Yeah, imagine.
I think as that play was unfolding, you're on your feet. Like, you can't sit down and go, "Oh yeah, look at them go! Look at
this might happen." Oh, this looks
so you're on your feet. And I'm lucky. I'm a bit removed from the house. I've got like a area in the shed that I watch the games now, and I don't take my phone because the chat that these boys have puts me off. So I'll leave my phone in the bedroom and I'll come out here because I don't want to be on Twitter. And it gives me ability to be a bit louder. But yeah, you're on your feet as the play's happening, so you can't really be quiet, But it is different than being in England, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'd imagine I think a good way to describe it is if you're we're doing a live watch along or something like that, but you're on mute. So you can't actually, like, you do all the hands and the face and you jump around and your mouth moves, but nothing actually comes out of your mouth and no one can hear it. So I'm like you, Dimi. There's been many, and last night was another one on the list where you think oh, like how good was this? We haven't made a noise, and then as you get into bed or whatever, and the missus wakes up, and she's like, "So did they score twice, or was it just the end of the game?" You're like, yeah, like, oh shit, I thought I got away with that one. But anyway, we'll move on with so straight after, or not straight after, but very shortly after that, Joel Linton had a massive chance as well to put the game to bed. Again, hits the post. Bobby, how was it, that would have been a real settler for you, do you think, for the last sort of 20 minutes of the game? Or do you think
I was,
even 2 up then we were still going to be a little bit twitchy?
2-0 is never a good scoreline to be at.
Mm.
It's very dangerous. So you're always a little bit nervous, but I just felt calm. I felt calm after the first goal went in for some reason. I thought they're not beating us today. I thought that goal and the momentum and everything we had. And then when the second one went in, I thought that I was celebrating. I was already on the text messages giving it to everyone. I'd run inside, got my phone, and I was already like messaging all the boys that we're going to, cockily beat them. So, like Joel, I'd love him to score those. I'd love him to get that added to his game, just for him because he deserves it all the time. And but yeah, I was pretty comfortable, to be honest, at 2-0.
Dimi, were you the same? Do you think that sort of that goal and that big exhale that you sort of, because the longer it goes and the better we play with no goals, your gut gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Then that goal goes in and you can just, that big breath out to say, all right, at least we've got one. We can actually, worst case, you know what I mean? We're on the board. We keep playing like this, we'll be right. Did you kick the cat when Jonathan hit the bar, or what happened there?
I don't have a cat, so lucky I didn't kick the cat. I'm not.
Not that we don't condone hurting animals.
Animal violence.
Dimi can't own a cat. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
my missus absolutely loves cats. I would love to have a cat here, but
she got membership or anyway, yeah, go.
I was a bit confused, to be honest, because when the corner came in, it looked like it was just a regulation floated ball in, and then all of a sudden, Joe Linton's muscled his way onto the ball, and it looked like initially he'd smash it across the bar, but I think De Gea did push it onto the crossbar.
Yeah, I
So
think he
that
did get a touch.
it was a save, but then on the follow up, they didn't show it much, but it looked like Cher got kicked in the head because he followed up and he headed the ball onto the post, and it looked like Bruno got him on the head. Now I'm not sure why VAR didn't look at that for high foot, even if it wasn't a penalty for indirect free kick or something like that, because he definitely clicked him in the head because Cher had a cut on the side of his head. So I'm not sure how that wasn't looked at, but it did give me pause to call. So I'm thinking, geez, that was a great chance to make it 2-0. God forbid they get one RC chance at there and score. I was comfortable that we weren't going to lose, to be honest, but I was just dreading a 90th minute equaliser.
Yeah, we'll move on to the second goal. Longstaff, he goes down under a challenge from Luke Shaw, a bit of a barge, I think is the best way to push it. Call it. Sorry, not push it. Call it. The ball in by Trippier was gorgeous, and I didn't pick this up live, and I probably didn't pick it up till the second or third replay, just before the players are all going to jump when that ball comes in. Wilson gives Rashford just a little bit of a shove in the back to give himself a meter between him and Rashford, and opens up that space for him. Like that was so good, Bobby. That little push just to give himself that little bit of space to head uncontested in the 6-yard box.
Yeah, the smart striker, isn't it? They've all done it. We've seen Shearer do it for years, and all the really smart ones can get away with it and know the space. And when you got a bloke like Trippier delivering the ball, you know it's going to come pretty close to your skull anyway. So, yeah, it was quality. And we're so lucky to have Trippier in the side who can deliver those set pieces like that. And good to see Wilson score. He's had a few rough weeks. Lots of doubts on his ability to perform at the level, but a goal against Manchester United sort of gets you a little bit of confidence back.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I don't know if you've seen post-game, Dimmy. Actually, that's a stupid question. Of course you would have seen post-game that Eddie spoke about how that 2 weeks, that 2-week international break was perfect for him. He got to sort of refresh and recharge his body a little bit. He was a bit I think carrying a bit of illness, maybe a couple of niggles and knocks as well. And that 2 weeks was just that freshen up that he needed. That he didn't have that stress and sort of trying to work to make a squad or and training and things like that. I think they did have a few days of sort of downtime to themselves where they could do whatever, and then they met in Dubai. Because I'm pretty sure I seen Bruno was in the Maldives, I think, with his squeeze. So, yeah, Wilson, what did you make of that push? Because I thought, like, I know everyone does it, but just the timing of it. So Rashford couldn't adjust his position back to where he was. He actually had to jump from where Wilson had sort of nudged him to. So, what was your thoughts on that?
Just like Bobby said, very clever. Just professional goal scorer, knows all the tricks of the trade, knows how to make that half a yard of space. And as a striker, from that position, when Trippier's putting in world-class delivery, all you need is a little bit of half a yard of space, and then you're in. So it was a wonderful piece of play by Wilson, and it was great to see him get a goal and sort of boost up his confidence, because he has been knocked from pillar to post lately, and it is important that he's going to be fit for the rest of the season, because obviously we've got the big dog starting games, which is great, but to have that option off the bench for a quality goal scorer who's been quality goal scorer for us for 3 or 4 years, he's been basically carrying all our goals for 3-4 seasons. So the fact that we can get him off the bench now for 15, 20 minutes and have an impact like that, that's a great luxury that we haven't had for, I don't think, for 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, how good was that? How good was the bench in general? Like,
there you go. That's the
the
point.
quality, the quality coming off it. You know, Joelinton and Gordon, who I thought was magnificent when he came on as well.
Yep.
And then Wilson as well, and Elliot Anderson. Like, that was what we need as a club, and yeah, it was great to see against Manchester United to bring these kind of guys on.
Yeah, and hopefully, touch wood, that we can remain injury free for the next couple of weeks as well, because then we'll have Miggy who's a be an option. So either he'll start or Jacob Murphy he'll drop to the bench, and Murphy's form's been great since he started. I think for most of the year, even coming on as a sub, I think he's performed really, really well, and his shithousery was fantastic as well.
His shithousery is unbelievable. Like,
yeah,
it's elite. It's the best in the league by far.
Yeah.
But I thought he pulled Luke Shaw's pants down. Repeatedly in the game. Like, Luke Shaw couldn't deal with him. And I never would have thought I'd ever see that.
Yeah, I never thought I'd heard someone say that Luke Shaw couldn't deal with Jacob Murphy, but here we are. I just want to make mention, like, I know I keep going back to it, but this is our experience in Australia, that maybe not you, Bobby, but especially for me and Dimi, that we can't have our TVs up very loud during the middle of the night when we're watching games and stuff like that. But you can still pick up the atmosphere of the crowd and everything like that. And we are lucky enough here in Australia that we can rewatch the games, whether it's what I think they're 3-minute highlight, 10-minute, half an hour highlight, and you can either watch the full game again. So we do get a few options of how we want to consume a game after the game if we want to watch it again, which I definitely watched the 30-minute banger again after work today. But the crowd, Dimi, like, that was on par, if not hotter than the Arsenal game. That's how it felt watching on TV. Obviously, we aren't fortunate enough to be there in person. But did you have that sort of same feeling as well?
Yeah, you could tell from minute one the crowd was up for it, despite me having the volume to about 6 on my Samsung LED. It was still very clear coming through the Samsung.
Shout out to Samsung as well if they're watching. Don't be scared to send a couple of LEDs our way as well. We'll,
best TV.
Yes,
they are.
Best
quality
TVs,
quality TVs, quality telephones as well. But
yes,
you could see the crowd were up for it, and I think it really helped us that we started well, but also not just the fact that we started well. It seemed like Man United had come for the draw, and they were sort of twisting our time-wasting mags onto us, and De Gea was taking a long time on his kick-ins. They were taking time on their throw-ins. So that was just rolling up the crowd even more, and I think the crowd didn't need any more encouragement to get up and about for a Manchester United game. But they were well and truly up and about, and the more and more we pressed them, the more and more we built into the game. It just, you could feel the energy from the crowd, and it genuinely is a 12th man. Me being there at the start of the season for a game, the first one against Forest, it was amazing, the atmosphere, and you can just feel the crowd sort of suck the ball into the net at times. It is really amazing to see, and no doubt this morning would have been, or yesterday afternoon in England, it would have been exactly the same thing.
Yeah, and
Just
it looked like a glorious day as well. But I was going to say,
Yeah.
Bobby, well, yeah, Dimi, we get it. You went to a game this year. You don't have to bring it up every podcast. But Bobby, you did go to that Arsenal game, didn't you? So I think you're in a good position to.
Mark went.
Oh, was it
Mark
Mark?
went, not
Oh,
me.
sorry, I thought it was you.
God, I'm like, did I
Yeah.
go? I dreamt it. I thought, no,
Yeah.
I didn't go. Mark went, but no, I didn't go. But I just want to let Gary
Samsung?
Neville made a comment.
Oh,
No,
okay,
yeah,
yeah.
Samsung. Gary Neville made a comment on Sky saying that was the best atmosphere I've heard in 11 years working at Sky.
Was that everywhere or just at Newcastle?
No, everywhere.
Oh,
so
wow.
at 11 years in Sky, working at Sky, that was the best atmosphere he's heard. So it obviously was magnificent and loud, and that's the impression you got through the TV and the two flags or tarps or whatever you want to call them on either end.
Surfers, I think that's what they call them. They're surfers.
Yep. Tifos, whatever we call them down here. They were magnificent. I'm a bit disappointed that none of them just said "We are united," to give it back to Manchester. But no, they were brilliant, and yeah, you could tell it was a different sort of game and a different feel. I think Manchester United rolls you up a little bit, don't they?
Yeah, it had a bit of ASM to the crowd. They get themselves up for the big ones, don't they? Yeah, I think there was probably rightly or wrongly, it's hard for us to judge over here, but there were a few question marks sort of post League Cup. It felt a bit flat, and I just thought it's hard to be up for what is it?
Every game.
Maybe 20, 22 games at home every year. But yeah, they're definitely back, and I reckon with the finish line in sight now, every home game is going to be an event like that. I think everyone's going to be up and about, know what's at stake, especially for us for the rest of the season. They're just going to be the 12th man, like you said, Dimi, and roaring for everything. So we'll quickly bring up the stats from the game. Dimi, I'll put your favorite stat first, the XG. 3.86.
Here it comes.
XG 3.86 for us, 0.46 for the red team. They did shade possession 54% to 46, but for me, the one of the key stats, goal attempts, we had 22 goal attempts to their 6. I don't remember, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I don't think Nick Pope made any save of note, really, did he? Everything was very tame and straightforward what he got his hands on. So, yeah, free kicks 10 to 8, corners 7 to 4. Sometimes I think that's an interesting stat as well. If you sort of have a few more corners, it sort of shows as well that you are forward a lot more than what the opposition are. Throw-ins, I don't know why that's on there. 26 to 9. I don't even know why I said it. Fouls 12 to 8, which is interesting in itself. Where apparently the shitheaders who waste time and injuries and stuff like that. But like you said, Dimi, that they're the ones that they say it and put it on us, but they're the ones that were doing it the whole time. Anything in the stats column that jumps out for you guys?
XG.
Well, the goalkeeper. Of course it does, but that XG can't be right, mate. 3.86 expected goals. I expected about 6 or 7, mate. What
I've seen.
they...
I don't know where Keegan's got his stat. I saw a 4.04 somewhere as well. So we might as well just round that up to 4. But
okay.
So we round theirs down to 0 then, or is that?
Yeah, less than 50%. So you want to 0.
The goalkeeper stat saves is an interesting one. I thought the guy was brilliant for them. Honestly, I thought he was very good.
He was the best player by a mile, wasn't he?
Yeah, if it wasn't for them, it would have been that 4-5 anyway. So, and then you can see in the stats, it says Pope made 1 save, and I think that was a real.
Rashford.
I think that was it Rashford or Anthony? One of them was a real pissweak sort of effort. I
think it was Rashford was passing or tried to cross shoot, and it just rolled towards.
Oh, that's probably why I didn't count it as a save. I just counted it as
As a
You know,
gather.
like it was.
The commentators said the same thing. They're like, I'm not sure if this is going to be counted as a shot or not, because Pope virtually just
Yeah.
sat down
Yeah.
like he was picking up a cricket ball with his knee in front of him. But
Yeah.
but it was
Just-
There you go.
They've just taken a gentle single down the fine leg and he's picked it up
Yes.
and thrown it back. But yeah, if the commentators are questioning if it's a shot, it's not a shot. It's like a VAR.
Nah.
If it's clear and obvious, it's a shot. If it's not clear and obvious, it's not a shot.
And that probably brought their XG up from
It did.
0.2 to 0.4. So
Yeah,
this is where stats are stupid, aren't they?
yeah, yeah. Well, you know, 67% of stats are made up on the spot, Bobby. So you take that for what it's worth. All right. I'll bring up another slide here. It's one of my favorite slides. Actually, not one of it. It definitely is my favorite slide at the moment. It's the table slide. There we are. Oh no, that's
the
an
wrong
old one. I
slide.
don't know what. Yeah. Well, we're third anyway, so don't worry about that. We're third. Hopefully, the blue half of Merseyside can do us a favour in the morning and get
Don't know how I
something
feel
from
about that.
Spurs. But yeah, I don't really care about. I know you're a bit. You don't lean that way, Bobby. I don't think Craig leans that way either. But I don't care if they stay up or go down. We'll beat them if they're up. But I'm purely focused on what's good for us from here on in, and what's good for us is Tottenham dropping points. So I'm all for that. But it was a massive win. I know we're only there on goal difference and things like that. We have got a big week to come. We might touch on our West Ham fixture just at the end of the podcast. But third, how do you feel about that, Dimi?
Yeah, it's amazing to be third after 27 games and about 12 goals clear of Man United, a point clear of Spurs with I think a game in hand still on them. So
Will there be two games?
Yeah,
So
it'll be 2 games after after when they play Everton this morning. But
yeah,
it's dizzy heights for us. But like you said, the finish line's in sight. There's only 11 games to go now, so we can really rally the troops and just treat everything like the proverbial cup final that it is. And
don't say that.
hopefully we can stay in the top 4.
Yeah. Now, Bobby, it is, especially given how far we are on the season, it's a deserved third spot, isn't it? We haven't tin-arsed our way with results going our way and other teams sort of dropping points like it would be, say, earlier in the season or even pre-World Cup. I think people were getting a bit excited where we were just before the World Cup break. But now we are over 2/3 of the way through the season and we are third. So we are deservedly third. And we might just touch on some of the opposition supporters who refused to accept that they were beaten fair and square by the better side. How does that make you feel when you sort of read things like that?
It's still like a dream. Like, don't forget, like about, 488 days ago, we were 20th in the Premier League. That's not that long
Good
ago.
stat.
Now we sit third with the best defensive record in all across England's 4 divisions. So the best defensive record. Yeah, no, I've been reading stats all day. We've also taken points from Man City, Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, and Man United, and we've only lost once at St James's Park.
It's come for a long run here, Bobby.
To a team that we played, 3/4 of the game with 10 men as well, and still played well in that game.
You actually take that all in, and we are deserved third by a long way. So it's a dream. So to answer your question, I still can't believe the transformation Eddie Howe has done to this team, and it's remarkable. And there's only better things to come. I think we're all forgetting. I think sponsors are about to join up. Money's going to be made available. Players of the quality of Bruno, Isaac, Botman are going to become a regular fixture. Good times are coming, and it's unreal.
No, good times are here. They're here now. Like, imagine how happy we are today. Like, if we had $1 for every time we've all smiled on this podcast so far, we wouldn't need Samsung to get us TVs. We could go and buy our own TVs. But like, that's going to be if everything keeps tracking in the right direction. This will be more often than not, we'll be feeling like this. And I don't think I'll ever get sick of feeling like this. I don't think that the novelty of being good will ever leave because of how much we've put up with over the last, well, let's be honest, since we've probably all been born, really. Like, if even like the Sir Bobby era and the Keegan sort of years as well, we still never won anything. Like, as good as it was, we've got nothing to show. We've got some good some good stories, some good memories, but we've got nothing to show. And then now we're going to be good, we're going to be competing, we're going to be winning games more often than not. And yeah, I'll never not be happy of winning. I'll never get sick of winning. And with Eddie in charge, I think we're not going to be that Jurgen Klopp team that everyone hates. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to portray that arrogance that Eric Ten Hag has sort of given in the media the last couple of times we've played him. He's just a likable guy. You know, he doesn't, like, people might hate our antics on the pitch, but you'll get nothing from our manager. I don't think everyone really respects him. So that's going to be great as well. Man of the match, Bobby. Who did you lean towards?
It's a tough one.
It's bloody tough.
It.
Yeah.
They all deserved it except for Pope, but that's not Pope's fault.
Yeah.
Willock again. I'm just going to, he scored the goal. He should have scored 2 or 3 more. He's immense. He's becoming the player. Like, 20 million, what a bargain. Like, you think about that fee we paid for him, and that was the whole budget we had. I think we got more than what we budgeted for in terms of that transfer, and now you look at it and go, it's an absolute bargain. So I'm going to say Willock, but Bruno, special mention, because, again, was terrific.
Yeah. Dimi? Who got your
special mention to the Mad Dog who was taking on Steve McLaren on the sideline. That was sensational.
We talk about
what Steve McLaren was going to do. The Mad Dog.
You want that smoke? We talk about the players coming back from the international break, refreshed and recharged. Mad Dog has got. That's all he needs. He just needed a bit of time away, a bit of sun, just to get that varnish back up to where it should be.
Yeah,
Sun was
Mad Dog was on fire.
He was in his prime.
He was standing over. There was one point I think Anthony was rolling on near the touchline. I think off the touchline. He was standing over him, just giving it to him, saying,
just a bit of friendly advice for Anthony.
He's just quality. He's just pure entertainment. But obviously he can coach as well. He's, I think, in charge of the set pieces, and we scored a nice goal from a set piece and hit the crossbar from another one. So he's doing a lot of things right. But for me, the man of the match had to be Bruno. He showed once again he is the best Bruno in that matchup, and he dominated that midfield. He circulated the ball well. He put the ball into Maxi for the first goal. He just did everything right, as he normally does. But he stood up when we needed him to stand up in a big game and in a big moment. He was the one controlling that game, and I think he was the best player in the park.
Yeah, and it's funny that I was watching the game and it sort of was finished, and you can never sleep after a game like that. You might get an hour or two before you have to get up again for work. But I kept reflecting back to when we had Adam Peacock on, and when he went over with his son to a couple of games over there, and he mentioned that watching live, you don't actually get a full appreciation of Bruno on the TV until you actually watch him live. That he effectively plays 3 positions during the game. He actually plays as a sort of holding midfielder, central midfielder, and an attacking midfielder in the same game. I think yesterday was a really good example of that, I thought. That's how I felt when I was watching it. So he got my 3 votes. Well, say 3 votes. Like we're reading the Brownlow medal or best and fairest. For those international viewers, 3 votes is generally someone who's the best player on the ground in Aussie rules footy. They might do other sports in Australia, probably do the same thing as well. But yeah, we'd sort of work on a 3-2-1 basis. So if that was me, I'd probably go, Bruno 3, Willock 2, and
Mad Dog 1.
Yeah, Mad Dog 1. We need I don't know if you guys got to. Oh, you definitely wouldn't have, Dimi. Bobby, I'm not sure if you've ever been to the UK. I don't even know if they still do this on Sky. you used to be able to push the red button during a game, and it had like a player cam you'd follow for 10 minutes, and it's sort of just they'd sort of mention on the commentary, if you want to follow Sven Botman for the next 10 minutes, push the red button, and you just had Botman cam. I'd pay good money for a Tyndall cam just for 90 minutes, just so you can sort of have the game on your mate screen, maybe a little box down the corner. It's just a Tyndall cam you could just push up, like any sort of controversial thing happens. Quick, put the Tyndall cam on. I want to see him going off his nut again and stuff like that. So
I reckon that's a good idea for NUFC TV. We just
I was going to say
Tyndall,
match cam,
and then
match cam.
after
Just
the
have
game,
a Tyndall
that's
match
it.
cam. So
I
you do
reckon
your
that's
10.
a good idea.
Yeah, I am looking forward to the match cam. Hopefully, be out when we
Yeah.
wake up in the morning as well.
So if anyone from the club is listening, we want
Yeah.
a Tyndall cam.
Yeah. So release your match cam footage and then a special. I reckon the Tyndall cam would outweight or outview the match cam.
Box
I don't think
office.
there's
It'd be
no
box
doubt
office.
about it. Yeah. And I reckon if he was getting filmed, he'd razz it up. He'd turn it up even more.
Oh, he'd do it. Yeah, he would. That glow would be sparkling even more. His nice pounding glow.
Sunbeds in Newcastle would be going off.
So I don't know. I hate talking about this stuff, but it's fun to talk about. I don't know if he gets his teeth done or his teeth stay the same and they just look whiter when he gets darker. I don't know what it is.
He must be doing something to the teeth. Yeah, he's got to give them just in pristine condition.
Yeah, he's got to give him a dusting every now and then.
What does an assistant coach have to do during the week, mate? Really, he's got plenty of time to lay in sunbeds and then go to the dentist and get a little work done.
Just give us a quick little touch up, can you? Nice, just dust them, make them a little bit whiter. So, is this our best win of the year? Like, I know we've definitely seen a few Man United fans claiming this is our biggest game of the year, which is a really weird thing to say considering we played our first final in 24 years at Wembley. But is this our biggest win of the year so far?
Yeah,
Bobby?
by far. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, not just because it's Manchester United, but that does play a little bit in it. But we're coming to the end of the year and we're fighting for that third position, and we just beat a club and overtook them for that position. So, of course, it is the biggest. And, Manchester United can say that was our grand final, whatever they want. But at this point in the season, it was the most important game we've played, and we dominated. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Dimi, like what Bobby just said, that was our grand final and stuff like that. But do you think it's fair to say we've got 11 more grand finals to come?
I think so, mate. I think every game is going to get bigger and bigger as we get closer to the end of the season. But for the context of the season and the fact that we've now jumped them into third, it is the biggest game or our best result of the season. And maybe if we beat Spurs in a couple of weeks at St James's, maybe we beat Spurs 2-3, 4-0. That might be even better. But I think up till now, it's definitely the best result given the context of the season.
Yeah, I reckon that Spurs one's interesting. I'm glad you mentioned that because it's hard to predict results and things like that. But if we beat Spurs, I reckon that'd nearly almost guarantee us European football next year, just purely where they are and give us that buffer, I guess, to the teams below us, your Brightons and Brentfords and them. They'll be around. Who knows what Chelsea and Liverpool will be doing with their results. I don't know. I keep thinking that they're going to turn it around, Chelsea and Liverpool, and they just don't. I think that's just like if we've got enough of a sample size for us, I think we've got enough of a sample size for them. That's what they are this year. They're a sort of, I don't know, 6 to 10 side in the league.
It's definitely the year to emerge with those clubs who have spent billions falling by the wayside a little bit. I think our biggest competition is Brighton, to be honest. I think they're playing really well. Their new managers added this more ruthless side to them. And I think Tottenham are a bit of a basket case at the moment, with Conte leaving and everything like that. So I think we're right for top four, but I think Brighton represents the biggest danger. And we're well in front of them, I think, on the table. So, yeah.
That's great. You are a closet Brighton fan, Bobby. We all We all know
Yeah.
that.
I respect them, but I respected them because Ashworth was there, and that was the reason. I think they were smart at doing their business and what they did, and we took their main guys. So
Yeah.
good luck to us.
And just a word of warning, probably. Oh, you just reminded me. With any other Premier League clubs, I'd be hiding your scouting team, because if they're any good, they're probably gonna get poached by us. So if you like them, I'd send them off overseas or whatever. Just make sure they're out of Congo, go in the middle of Congo somewhere to try and find some random kid, just so they're off the grid, so they can't be contacted and
Dan
poached.
Ashford's off the leash, mate. He's gone nuts.
Yeah.
Anyone he's spoken to in the last 12 months is now at Newcastle United.
Yeah. I think they're going to need a new training ground just for the academy. Like, never mind the first team stuff.
We don't have that many desks at Benton,
No.
do we? No.
Yeah. If you're a desk maker, if you're a friend, buy shares in a desk company, because there's going to be about 50,000 that are going to be needed in the northeast of England coming up soon. Well, just before we wrap up, we might as well touch on the West Ham game midweek. I think it's rescheduled from the Queen passing, so I think there's a few fixtures as well during the week. Bobby, what are you expecting out of this game?
A tough battle, to be honest. I think West Ham, obviously in relegation trouble, but have got quality players. This time of year is when the relegation teams start to really ramp up their desperation and everything. So, yeah, I think it'll be tough. I don't think it'll be like what we had, but I think we'll be too strong in the end. But I'm expecting a pretty big battle on our hands, to be honest.
Yeah, they gave us a pretty good go at our place, didn't they, Dimi?
Mm.
They did. They probably arguably deserved the point which they ended up getting. We did have Callum Wilson did have 2 or 3 really good chances to give us the 3 points, but yeah, like Bobby said, they're fighting for their lives. They got an important win on the weekend against Southampton, so whether that helps us or not, time will tell. But I think the games that they're going to stay up on is probably not going to be the games against us, which may suit us. They may have bigger fish to fry against their relegation rivals. So hopefully they're still basking in their glorious 1-0 victory over Southampton this morning, and we can wander down to the London Stadium and get the chocolates.
Yeah. One of my friends went there. He reckons it's the shittest stadium
soulless.
he's
It's
ever
worse.
been to in his life.
It's worse than Marvel Stadium, I'm telling you.
Yeah, it's like Marvel,
right now.
basically like Marvel. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit house.
Yeah. I'm surprised you know where Marvel is, Bobby. Anyway, I think Bruno playing again. Yeah. Bruno missed the home game as well. So I think he's going to be a pretty big inclusion for this game. I think it's fair to say that most fans would agree we do miss him. Like, he's the heartbeat. Everything goes through him, and like I said, he plays that sort of one player in 3 positions kind of guy. So he's irreplaceable, really, to us in what we do, especially in season. Obviously, if he decides one day to pack up his tools and go and play somewhere else, we'll have time to replace him. But especially in season, he's irreplaceable for us. So he'll be back for the game. Be interesting to see. I wonder if they'll make any changes given the high intensity. I think we did play at a very high level, both physically and mentally, for the game. So I'll be interested to see if Eddie does change it up. And fortunate enough, like we spoke about, we do have them options on the bench with quality players who can go through there and things like that. So it's definitely going to be interesting. It's going to be another long afternoon. Hopefully it's not as long if we get the win and we can just revel and drown in content all day like we all have been today, which has been fantastic. But that'll wrap us up. I reckon we could dead set go for about 4 hours on this thing and wax lyrical about Newcastle United, hang shit on Manchester United. There's a million different ways we can go, but like I said, we'll wrap it up there. It's been a blast. It's probably been one of my favorite podcasts to do, to be honest, guys. You can never not be happy and smile about Man United losing to us. So, Bobby, thank you for your time, mate. It's been great.
Thank
Dimitri,
you. Fuck you, Ten Hag.
Yeah. Dimi,
Thanks, Keegs.
Thanks for wasting everyone's time again tonight, mate. Like typical Newcastle supporters that we are. And I just want to make mention as well. I think we're only good tonight because we wanted it more than what the other 4 did. So we're not any good. We've got no ability. We've got no tactical nous. We just want it more than what other people do. So yeah. Thanks, everyone. If you've stuck with us to the end, don't forget to like and comment on the video. Tell your friends and family. Follow us on all the socials, Toon Underpod on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. And that's about it. Samsung, if you're still with us as well, send us a DM on Twitter, and I'll give you my address to post any merchandise or tech gear you want to send out to me. I think Bobby and Dimi will do the same.
Very happy to support Samsung.
That's about it. All right, guys. We'll catch you next time, probably for the West Ham review. Hopefully it's as good as this. I'll take my mouth guard out now and say goodbye to everyone.
Cheers, mate.